or three of them, and they've said that, look, this strike business, this strike thing, don't bring the law into it. It's a matter of, it's a feeling. It's a rebellion against untenable conditions. And so don't bring the law into it when I'm suffering, when I'm hungry, when I can't think straight, when my whole life has been turned upside down. You say I shouldn't go on strike? So this is a fine place for us to say, Dr. Abayomi, what are the legal angles to this strike?
Well, first and foremost, it's important that if we don't have law in a society, you have chaos. You know,
Did we have chaos on the day of the strike in Nigeria?
Well,
airports were not up. The grid was shut down.
Well, that's really the problem. Here, it's important to understand that the intention of law usually is to create a balance between rights and responsibility. Now, in the case of strike, the intention of the law is that people have a right to associate to protect their interests within the contemplation of law. In other words, the freedom to associate is not unlimited, like all freedoms. Otherwise, if we don't have controlled freedom, you have chaos. You have a situation where somebody can take a dagger in exercise of freedom to do whatever he likes.
Yes, but sir, exploring these legalities that you spoke about, there's the right to legally gather, associate.
Subject to the dictates of law. It's not unlimited.
Now, where does strike come in? Where does gathering become a strike?
Okay, now, the first and foremost, before you go on strike, the law establishes some conditions that must be established. The other issue is that strike itself is for the purposes of protecting the terms of employment. We will look at a whole lot of the way things work in this country. We are really not guided sufficiently by the rule of law. The other issue is that the law does not allow you to go on industrial action in certain situations. For example,
industrial action and strike.
Strike, basically the same thing. You know.
Okay.
Now, when you are talking of essential services, there is a ban, I think it's under Section 31(6) of the Trade Union Act and Trade Disputes.
Okay.
It's restricted. In fact, the position is that you cannot even go on strike if you are an employee within the essential service sector.
Okay. But
you have to have been working for non-essential service sector before you can go on strike.
Now, the national grid certainly must be part of the essential services.
Well, certainly it is.
Certainly it is.
There are lots of utilities, national grid, hospitals, etc.
You can't go on strike.
You cannot.
The police,
you are not allowed. Police,
firefighters,
and so on and so forth. The whole issue is that you cannot hold the nation to ransom. A nation must continue. Let us also understand that there are people who are not employed or people who are employed on their own in a nation. And the nation belongs to both the employees who are entitled to go on strike to protect the terms of employment and non-employees. In other words, the nation covers all of them. Therefore, as employees, you cannot hold the nation to ransom to the detriment of others who are not in your sector.
Okay.
That's a balance. The other issue is that there are some essential services that are absolutely necessary for the running of a nation.
And so you can
all the interests of its citizens. For example, in the hospital, you need power. Let us say somebody is on oxygen support. He needs electricity in order to continue that support. When you withdraw the electricity, then what happens? you expose him to death. No nation will allow that. Now you are talking of security and so on and so forth. So you must first of all be in non-essential sector before you can participate
legally in a strike.
Legally in a strike.
So if anybody in the essentials, such as you have explained it to us, was to take part in that strike, it's quite frankly an illegal act.
It is actually an illegal act. You can be charged to court for that because you're actually violating the law.
So the point that was made by Labour, for example, by its leadership in explaining that, first of all, we denounced the federal government saying that we had anything to do with it, but that as an affiliate member of the NLC, the grid workers were bound to comply with this strike. You've just shown us.
Well, but the point is that the very law to strike is taken from the law, the Trade Union Act. You cannot take part of the law and reject part of the law. You are exercising your right to go on industrial action because the law gives you that right as part of the freedom of association under Section 40 of the Constitution. Now, even now say that, because you are a member and affiliate and you disregard part of that law, I think that no nation would accept that.
Indeed. But as you know, it would appear that the government is playing a kind of softball with this because there are emotions involved. And for instance, government is not explaining it as starkly as you are.
Yes.
So that must have been in an effort to maintain the peace and almost a bit like the Yoruba proverb about call the guy who has problems upstairs, call him the husband of the wife.
Yes.
So that we can go and so that we can sort out. So that we can sort out.
I think the problem of our nation is that there's too much anger.
Let me come